going in 3, 2, 1, go. Alright everyone, welcome back. This is Ro16 with Elaine Sun for iCCupTV. Thank you for tuning in to our coverage of the Gigabyte StarsWar 6, sponsored by Gigabyte. You can visit them at gigabyte.com. Top level providers of really good motherboards. They're used in a lot of really good computer companies. You can buy them individually on your own if you're building a computer. Their Killer line, which is featured by the sponsorship for this tournament, is really good, in particular for gaming. There are a lot of really good motherboards. Remember you were talking about some of them, how they look pretty sweet too?
I'm always ranting about Gigabyte. It's the motherboard I use. It's my favorite motherboard company. I got to play around with their Killer Series Assassin, which is, I believe, the highest end of the series, a few months ago when I was working at a LAN, and it is a gorgeous motherboard. It also performs gorgeously. It's compatible with the i7 Gen 2 series, I believe. They should have sockets compatible with those, but it was originally built for the Generation 1 i7s. It's such a good motherboard. It was just so cool looking. There's a gun barrel and an ammo clip on it. I mean, maybe it's just me. I'm impressed by the aesthetics, but the green and black was so cool, and it benchmarked very well, actually. When I look for new motherboards, I go for Gigabyte. I mean, Asus, really great stuff, but I've invested in Gigabyte for a long time, and they're just really reliable. Top overclockers generally use Gigabyte motherboards, actually. Yeah,
they're just really solid products, and we can see, once again, we're back on Metalopolis for game number 1 between these two players. Genius is going to be the blue Protoss on the left-hand side of Metalopolis, and on the right we are going to see LoveTT in the red. So we have cross positions on Metal for this Protoss versus Protoss, neither player having successfully scouted each other out, but Genius is just about to arrive into LoveTT's base and just take a look around. He sees just one gas, and LoveTT is going to see the same, so both players mirroring each other pretty effectively so far. Genius's cybernetics core is just about 10 seconds slower, and if it does come back down to a 4-gate mirror, that can be a big deal. If the first wave of the 4 gates coming in while your gateways are still converting to warp gates, that can lose you a game in a high-level situation. So we'll see if that comes into play, but if players do decide to tech instead, maybe go for a blink or a fast robo, then that's not going to be a very big concern.
I like how Genius scouts every single last inch of LoveTT's base, actually. He goes in the smoke, he checks every last inch, makes sure there's no funny business. But both players basically save for Chrono Boost at the same time. Completely mirrored, but we'll see the 4 gates come out soon, if they do come out at all.
Yeah, even though Genius's cybernetics core was slower, if you look at the warp gate research, they're actually pretty much right on time.
Genius goes for a Twilight Council! He is going to go for the Blink build.
Yeah, he is going for a little bit of a safer Blink build. As you can see, he went for the 2 gateways into the Twilight Council. A lot of players, when they want to go for really quick Blink, they go 1 gate directly into Twilight Council, but there's also the concern of that probe was in his base for a while. But on the other side of the map, we can see more gateways on the way for LoveTT. 2 more, so he's only going to be on 3 gateways. Don't see a 4th on the way, but look at this. He is going to be able to push up the ramp and apply some pressure with a Zealot and a Stalker. He has a proxy pylon on the way, and his gateways are going to finish right about at the same time as his warp gates. Look at this. That's timed out really nicely by him. Warp gate finishes, and these gateways are now just finishing up. And he's making a Twilight Council himself, so he's going 3-gate Twilight Council into Blink, and Genius, with that mix-up on going for the earlier Twilight Councils, going for Dark Templars.
I am super excited. This is like the best PvP we've ever seen. I mean, there have been creative builds before, but we don't usually see Dark Templar and Blink, especially so early on, so this is really interesting timing. I really love the placement of his proxy pylon. It's just so perfect. I mean, LoveTT would have to go all the way around in order to take it out.
Yeah, and this Dark Templar build is going to be quite effective, because when you see a player go for early gateway strategies, at least 3 gateways with pressure, it means that the robotics bay is going to be a little bit slower. As you can see, robotics facility is only halfway done, and this Dark Shrine is nearing completion. So there is going to be a window in here where he can get the Dark Templars up the ramp, but LoveTT does seem to be afraid of that, as he's completely walled off his ramp here. He's not going to let any units through here. And then, of course, right as I say that, he backed them up. So now there's a gap for a Dark Templar to walk through, and then he fixes it. Make up your mind, LoveTT. And Dark Shrine is just about finishing, so we do see Dark Templars warping in onto the low ground rally directly into the base of LoveTT. There is an observer coming out first for him, and it is not chrono boosted, but it's rallied directly at the ramp. So Dark Templars are right here. The observer's still only halfway done. He sees the distortions and throws down a force field. Great play there by LoveTT. He can force field again, and that will buy enough time for the observers to finish. Oh, but he placed it behind the Dark Templars. That's going to allow them to slip right past, but the observer finishes right at the perfect moment. He will be able to chase those down. One more shot. There we go. And he is able to deflect that quite nicely.
He actually purposely trapped them in there to make sure that they wouldn't get out right as his observer popped. So that was actually really nice timing. I mean, those DTs did 0 damage. 0 real damage, and he's ahead in food count now because those DTs were so ridiculously expensive, not to mention, you know, not just the DT themselves with the Dark Shrine tech, which, you know, really isn't going to be that effective, but he was able to expand behind it somewhat safely, though, which is the most important part of the DT build. But this counter push might do a little bit of damage because of his Blink Micro.
Yeah, the fact that there is Dark Templars on the field means that LoveTT does have to be careful. He cannot bring his entire army for this counterattack. He doesn't want to leave his base completely unprotected against the Dark Templars. So you can see this small group of Stalkers is getting deflected quite nicely by Genius. He's not going to be able to do a bunch of damage, but great job there actually preventing any of the Stalkers from dying with the Blink. A little bit of a misblink there down the cliff, and he's going to take out a couple more probes before he goes. Well done there by LoveTT, losing his first Stalker, but it was really nice of him to leave these Zealots and the Sentry behind just in case. With the moment he started to push out on MVP, he sent in some Dark Templars, but LoveTT still trying to skirmish with Genius instead of getting away, losing a couple more Stalkers in the top left-hand side of the map, and now he might walk directly into this Dark Templar that's warping in. If he sends those on the low-health Stalkers, he could cut down a couple of those, but he doesn't seem like he's going for that. He's trying to get in the base again, and there is an observer still in position.
Oh, I'm surprised that he actually just let this DT go right by and once again do no damage. The threat of DTs does give him a little bit of map control, since, you know, you can only have so many observers without wasting money, but he hasn't really been using them as effectively as DTs obviously could be, especially, you know, as you said, to snipe off the Stalkers.
But look at this, Genius charging in on LoveTT with a bunch of units, charge finishing up and allowing him to get directly on top of those Stalkers. Now he's got the Stalkers and a few more Zealots, you know, reinforcing in, but LoveTT has a ridiculous number of Stalkers back at home because he'd been reinforcing back in his base that entire time. MVP Genius is just not prepared for that many units. As you can see, he just dropped some force fields there, kept some of the Stalkers out of the fight, and then when this huge army of Stalkers were charging at him, he just says GG and gives in the first game.
I was pretty surprised at those force fields. I mean, for one, the majority of the composition was Blink Stalker, which kind of laugh at force fields. I mean, yeah, at least he didn't trap his chargelets behind the force fields, so his chargelets were able to charge in the fight before he landed on the force fields, but I really didn't see the point of doing those instead of, you know, putting down a Guardian Shield or something instead.
Those were LoveTT's force fields, weren't they?
Oh. I thought that, okay, maybe they were. But some sentries on both. They didn't make cards.
I think those were LoveTT's force fields because they did a better job of locking out the Zealots than anything else. And of course, since LoveTT does have that blink, he's going to be able to blink around them and use them as a great defensive position. So
I'm really surprised that Genius engaged, though. I mean,
yeah, he thought he had a unit advantage because he did for quite some time. But if you look back into the base of LoveTT, he was finishing up more gateways. He was warping in a ton of Stalkers
just in time.
So he just had a way bigger army than Genius expected, and there's just no way he could fight that counterattack, so he did have to give in. And this is where the kind of weird thing happens. Apparently there was some sort of a lag issue going on, and Genius, after this game, just forfeit the rest of the series. I don't know exactly what was happening with the connection. Genius said that there was some major lag issue and he just didn't want to play out the rest of the series. So LoveTT, after taking the first game, does actually take the series over Genius. It's a little bit unfortunate, as I would have liked to see the rest of the games here between these two players, but it's just the way it works sometimes with these cross-server tournaments, and means we're going to have to be taking another quick break and then transitioning on to the next series.
It was such an odd PvP.
Yeah, it was an interesting PvP.
PvPs like that, you know, it's like, well, he's forgating. Well, he's also forgating.
Yeah, that's the usual PvP experience. I thought LoveTT was going to forgate there for a little bit, and I was like, oh.
But you've seen more DT play lately, I guess.
So give us a moment here to get everything set up for the next match. It is going to be Maro versus Nada, which is going to be sick. Why is Nada listed as Protoss on this overlay?
I really love TLO, but not gonna lie, I'm pretty happy that the Chinese players have advanced into the next round, since they are the only ones left in the tournament, I think.
Okay, hang on. There's a mistake on this overlay that I'm just gonna have to fix in a weird way. So give me a second. The overlay we have for this matchup shows Nada as Protoss, and I'm pretty sure that's wrong.
Yeah, no, he's not decided that he's so baller. He's just gonna, you know, give Maro a chance and play as off race for this tournament. No, pretty sure he's Terran.
So I'm just gonna do that, and there we go. He's Terran now.
You just cover up Nada's entire face. Yeah.
I'm just gonna cover that up with a Terran icon, and give us a moment. We'll be right back. Gonna run a quick commercial break, then we'll get started with the Nada versus Maro series. Thanks everybody for tuning into iCCupTV. We'll be back in just a few moments. I gotta remember to take away that Terran image that's covering it up for the 4th series, because then it'll show somebody as Terran who probably isn't, unless Jinra's on the left. If Jinra's on the left, then that's fine.
Oh, I'm so excited for Maro. I mean, yes, it's Nada, but I don't know. I'm just a tiny bit biased for Zerg players. I've been such a fan of Maro. Like, even before he got 2nd place at Assembly, he was kicking butt everywhere. Everyone was impressed, you know, because he was so motivated to practice, because people were saying Maro Zerg isn't going to be nearly as successful as his Terran. So he practiced super ridiculously hard all the time just to try and prove them wrong. And he basically did. I mean, he hasn't won any huge tournaments yet, but he's done extremely well.
He's shown us some impressive play, especially given that a lot of the top Zerg players have been Zerg since the beginning of the beta. They've been playing for a long time. They've been working on those mechanics forever. And Maro is just like, I'm going to switch to Zerg. And I'm just going to practice really hard. And he caught a lot of crap for it at first, but he's become a really solid player. As you can see, he beat Huck in order to get here. Probably one of the only players who switched races besides TLO and has actually had success with it. But TLO he keeps switching between a race and then back to random. So I'm not sure if that really counts as switching races or not. So those two, pretty much the only guys we've seen in the top level of competitive play switch a race and still be successful. And
Artosis?
Artosis hasn't been successful yet.
Oh, he's pretty good though.
He's good, but he hasn't been successful yet. That's hopefully that's later down the road. But
in Europe, Nurtio started playing full-time Zerg after a long random career.
Oh, did he switch?
Nurtio?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's been full-time Zerg for several months now, for the majority of this year, I believe.
I was actually casting him in a couple of the Go for SC2s
a
little while ago, and he was actually switching back and forth between random and Zerg when I was casting those.
He's been full-time for a bit.
So yeah, I didn't actually hear that he went full-time Zerg.
He always complains about how underpowered Zerg is, and then switches full-time Zerg. But it's super fun.
Yeah, playing Zerg is just I don't know, there's more things to do in
Maybe
the early
Mario-
game, so I find it a little bit more, I don't know, fun. So
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
just sitting there, like, staring at my probes and going, okay, it's time to build a pylon.
I mean, maybe Mario switched for the same reason I did, because spreading creep is super, super fun.
Yeah, it gives
And
you
it always
extra
makes me
things to
so
do.
sad when, you know, you get that observer or scan out there and destroy all my creep tumors, and I'm like, no, I spent so long delicately placing those. But, anyway, so, Nada. I mean, what can we say? It's Nada. Have you seen his body?
Oh my god, you went there, didn't you?
Still one of the biggest threats in Team Liquid history.
Yeah, I mean, the not his body thread on Team Liquid will live on forever. It's legendary. If you haven't seen it, it's worth checking out. It's hilarious. But Nada's one of the oldest pro gamers from StarCraft. He's I think he was the most winning Brood War player, period. Just like total wins.
Most consistent Brood War player.
He was also the most consistent. He's got the golden mouse. He's just the genius. He's just a complete genius.
Terran, the
yeah.
Tornado Terran,
The genius
Water
Terran. Like, he's got so many nicknames.
He just got 3-0'd by Inca in Coda's semifinals.
No.
I was like,
so sad.
Q. Short games, too.
An interesting thing that people don't always realize is Nada was one of the first people to come into Brood War and just with solid macro play. Because when Brood War scene was still developing, it was still around good timings, rushes, cheese strategies. And Nada came on board and he's like, I'm just going to make a lot of units, okay? And really changed the face of Brood War forever. And one of the reasons why he is such a legend because of that.
So I am totally ready to start these games because Nada has some of the most solid mechanics especially after such a long Brood War period, or Brood War career. But Mara obviously cannot be discounted. This kid practices so hard.
Yeah, he's always got that extra chip on his shoulder that he has to do a little bit better with Zerg because of the fact that he switched and he took so much crap for it, and you could see that he works really hard because of it. So it'd be really interesting to see the series. Are you ready to get going?
Yep.
People are asking for a link to the Not His Body thread in chat. What have we started? Oh my!
Perpetuated,
what have we done? What have we done? All right, so let's get.